Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wild.
Hi, Jenna.
I had a whole I had a whole introduction all written out. I wrote it on Friday. It was the revenge game. It was how many points they won by. I had this whole thing written. I had to scrap the whole thing this morning and start fresh. Because it was not
like you had
the
to
game
scrap
any
the
of us
script of the Raiders win. Not like you had to scrap. At least you still got the winner right in the script, Jenna. Never a doubt.
It was
never a doubt.
It was nuance. What happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas, folks. Not when it's a revenge game for the Chiefs, apparently. Casey wanted this one badly, and they got it, but only barely. It took a Patrick Mahomes gem with 28 seconds left, a pass to Travis Kelce for the go-ahead touchdown, a nice one at that. For the Chiefs to pull this out, a win is a win no matter how close. And for the Chiefs, they now improve to 9-1. Everyone chiming in after this one, including LeBron, who had this to tweet. I mean, was there any doubt on that drive? No, there wasn't. Patrick Mahomes, insano. All right, Nick, so on Friday, you had your Chiefs by 25, I think. You had 25 on this one.
That's correct.
Did last night surprise you? Just how much Patrick Mahomes needed to do at the end to get this win. Did that surprise you at all?
Oh, listen, I can't sit here and lie to America. I'm absolutely surprised this was a close game. I thought it was going to be 38-13. I thought the Chiefs were going to annihilate the Raiders. And that is not what happened. You said I could go to bed after the first quarter. And so, absolutely right. And so credit to the Raiders, and I want to give some additional credit to the Raiders in this regard. When this season is over and we look back on it historically, the Las Vegas Raiders are going to be one of the best teams in league history to miss the playoffs. And that counts for something. So good for them in that regard. It's unfortunate they couldn't close the deal last night. And it's hard to blame them, Brandon, because one team has Patrick Mahomes and everyone else doesn't. If you were following this game, the live betting lines, when Jason Witten scored the touchdown to put the Raiders ahead with less than 2 minutes remaining, the Chiefs were still the betting favorite because they have Patrick Mahomes and you don't. That's true. Look it up. I swear it's true. And it made me think, the first time we ever saw Patrick Mahomes, week 17 his rookie season, he was in a spot where he had to drive his team the length of the field in the final 2 minutes to win the game, and he did. He has been in that spot 10 times in his career. Once he hasn't come through. The epic 54-51 game against the Rams. If you are leading the Chiefs and they have the ball with less than 2 minutes left, you're behind. Mahomes reminded the world of that again yesterday. So gallant effort by the Raiders. It's something to build on for next season. But one team has Patrick Mahomes, Brandon, and everyone else doesn't.
Nick, come on, man. Just admit it. You were nervous. Just admit it. You know you were watching that game last night, sweating bullets. You know it. Just admit it. I love how confident you are, but the reality is...
I'll tell you where I was nervous. I was nervous when I thought they might not get the ball back. When Vegas got the first and goal at the 1, if they could have run out the clock, I didn't think the Chiefs were going to stop them. But as soon as I saw the time and score, no, not that nervous. We got Patrick Mahomes. Not that nervous.
Yeah. Well, look, Jenna, I'm not surprised by this because of two guys, Paul Guenther on the defensive side and John Gruden. Coming into this game, you know, there's a lot of people talking like Nick Wright. You know, a lot of people overlooking the Oakland Raiders. This is a really good team. It doesn't matter what division you throw them in, what conference they're in. This is a really good team. They're getting better every single week. You look at the offensive side, like this is a simple but sophisticated offense. John Gruden is getting better as a play caller. Just sitting back as an ex-ball player and watching how they're orchestrating everything at the line of scrimmage was just awesome to watch as a fan. And then you look at it on the defensive side, while Paul Guenther, sat under Zimmer for a very long time, learned a lot. Like, this is the only defense that really gives Mahomes problems. And I was excited to see Mahomes just take his time. He had poise. and he really got his team in the perfect situation almost every single play. This Kansas City team is scary because they're finding new ways to win every single week. Patrick Mahomes, they're switching it up every single week. It's not just, oh, let's rely on Patrick. They have the running game. They have the passing game. Their defense gets it done. So I thought it was two really good teams getting after it. And when you have two really good teams in the same division playing, this is the type of game you should expect. That was great football last night, Wilds.
Brandon, what type of defense was Paul Guenther running in the last minute 43? So I know Derek Carr had that James Harden audible that sort of started trending because they weren't going to pass. I think Paul Guenther called out the James Harden defense because they just decided to just let the offense just waltz right through. He went 7 plays, 75 yards in a minute 15. That's literally hard to do in basketball. So, Nick, I know everyone's like, too much time. It's not too much time. Like, for the next person that says too much time, it's not too much time. You have to go 75 yards. The Chiefs had the ball for 32 minutes. They didn't score 200 points. Travis Kelce, wide open. If we run the highlight, there's no one in the shot except 20 comes in like, oh, what happened? Like, hey, anybody got Travis Kelce? Remember him? Remember Big Fur
watch
coat?
what Mahomes does.
WWE championship belt? Oh, there he is. Oh, I forgot all about him. I thought this was just the softest, lamest defense, and the fact that Mahomes threw one away and Paul Guenther pounded it down, I was like, yeah, you're ready. No, you're not. No, it was like a hot knife through butter. It was too easy. I'm happy for you, Nick, but I was just like very frustrated for the minute 43 of my Raiders fandom.
Yeah, so here's the thing, though, Wilds. And Brandon, you mentioned Paul Guenther. I thought the Raiders' offense was extraordinary. I thought Derek Carr played one of the best games he's ever played for 59 minutes and 40 seconds, and then he threw the pick to lose it, but they were going to lose anyway. And I thought Gruden had a really good game plan. I didn't think the Raiders played very well defensively. Here, the Chiefs only had 8 drives. They went 3 and out on 2 of the drives, bullied for the Raiders on those. The other drives went 85, 73, 73, 93, 91, and 75 yards. Now, they were long drives. They were preventing the killer 60-yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill, but the Chiefs were moving the ball at will and would have had 40 points scored if Demarcus Robinson runs the right route before halftime. So I thought the Raiders' defensive game plan was, we're going to rely on you guys to make mistakes. And aside from the one miscommunication between Demarcus Robinson and Mahomes, this is a Chiefs offense that doesn't make mistakes. So I thought the Raiders' offense was great. I thought the defense was exemplified in that last drive. The Chiefs were getting what they wanted, Brandon.
Yeah, no, when I'm looking at this film and I watch the game throughout the 4 quarters, there's going to be a few things that jump out. There's going to be 3rd and short. They did not have an answer for 3rd and short. They didn't have an answer for the red zone. Well, now, excuse me, not the red zone. They didn't have an answer for Travis Kelce, as you saw down the stretch. Yeah. Outside of those two areas, I felt like the game plan was awesome. I love what the defensive line did. A lot of people last night questioning, like, why are they crashing down in the middle of this offensive line? Like, they were literally trying to get Patrick Mahomes outside the pocket. They were relying on their linebackers and their secondary to also contain him. So I felt like they were really disruptive. But when you look at Patrick Mahomes and how he answered it, man, you see why he is the best at what he does. But no, if I'm on that offensive side and I'm sitting in that locker room and I'm like, man, our defensive guys are giving me opportunities and they're slowing Patrick Mahomes down, and our offense, we know we're confident and we can get the job done, I'll take that. I'll take that against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes all day, Nick.
All right, guys, so the Chiefs walk away with a big win Sunday night. Patrick Mahomes did what Aaron Rodgers did not yesterday, flex some late-game heroic muscles. What happened to the Packers? It's next. It's First Things First. Hey, First Things First listeners. I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead. Download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports. Plus, a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com.
Packers
Game of the week, living up to its billing. Packers, Colts, pack up 14 at the half, but stalled in the second half big time as Phillip Rivers rallied the Colts to force overtime, and a costly fumble doomed the Packers, setting up a Colts field goal to win. Indy, with the win, now improves to 7-3. Packers, with the loss, now fall to 7-3. Nick, I'll start with you. Was this game more about the Colts or the Green Bay Packers?
Oh, it was more about the Packers. And it was just a total, everyone involved second half meltdown that showed some of the glaring weaknesses on the team. If they win this game, they have the inside track to the 1 seed. Their remaining schedule has one team on it that's above 500. It's a Titans team that I think they match up well against, and they're in really good shape. Instead, they blow a 14-point second half lead because this is what they do in the second half. 3 and out, fumble on a kickoff return, a turnover on downs, and then even on the drive that resulted in the game-tying field goal, I thought Rodgers made a big mistake that got totally glossed over during the game. He spiked the ball on 1st and 10 with 42 seconds left inside the 15-yard line. They had time. They needed the down. A touchdown is what you're going for there, not a field goal. So everyone made a mistake. You had a wide receiver fumble the ball in overtime in Valdez-Scantling. Shepard fumbled the kickoff return. Offense couldn't get going. And Brandon, they got bullied at the line of scrimmage. Not being able to stop the Colts running game and not trusting their own running game. They have a 4th and 1 in a critical moment in the game. The turnover on downs I was referring to. They run a little almost fade pass to Jamal Williams out of the backfield. So they didn't trust their big people against the Colts' big people. And so I think this is a very, very tough and damaging loss for Green Bay, considering the way they dominated the first half of this football game.
Yeah, and Nick, for me, it's about both teams. And if you actually respected the Colts more and you listened to your buddy Wilds more, your answer would probably be different. For weeks now, Wilds been calling the committee and asking, please, guys, respect the Colts and what they're doing. Look, when you look at Wilds, right? But when you look at this game, you got to start with Phillip Rivers. And yeah, you're right. For the last week or two, you've been highlighting his woe, his where his struggles have been throughout his career. But Phillip Rivers is playing more decisive. He's playing really smart, and he's actually playing with explosion. He's getting that ball out of his hands so fast, and he's so deliberate with what he's doing and all of his movement in the pocket. And that's why this team is trending in the right direction. The defense, we know this defense is one of the better defenses. They're the number 1 defense in the league right now. We know that. All they need is Phillip Rivers to not turn the ball over. He had one yesterday, and then there was moments in the game where and we're going to get that bad Phillips. But he continued just to get back up and be more consistent. I thought both of these teams played really well, Kevin. When you look at Aaron Rodgers, with some moments in the game, too, where, the ball could have been going the other way, but both of those guys put their team in position at the end of the game to take control. And that's what we saw. This game come down to the 2-minute drill, and Valdez-Scantling, however you say this young man's name, he has 3 last names. That was the difference. That's all you want, is to be right in position towards the end of the game, and you can't let this happen. That ride home for this young man was brutal. Just what Nick said, when you have an opportunity to control your own destiny and you let the ball slip out of your hand in this position, this is just brutal. This is all bad, but he'll learn from this.
Okay, so the Colts defense allowed 3 points in the second half in overtime. So if you're a Packers fan and you want to look at the world as glass half full, you'd be like, we made mistakes. We turned the ball over. But if you're a Colts fan, like, you're forcing turnovers. The Colts are now third best in takeaways in the league. And Nick, you know my old character. I don't even have a name for him. Old man committee here. Big fan of the Colts. I think we have to move them up. I told you 2 tiers. If they get to Tampa for the Super Bowl, I think the world would be surprised, but I think we're taking Shocked off the board now. Shocked is off the board. Surprise still on the board, but Shocked should be off the board. Old Man Rivers, bolo tie in Tampa, you shouldn't be shocked if you see it. You shouldn't be surprised that the Colts are in and the guy's wearing a bolo tie, but you shouldn't be shocked.
You should be shocked, and here's why. In order for the Colts to make this, I can't believe this, we're talking about this, to make the Super Bowl, Phillip Rivers is going to have to play 3 consecutive clean playoff games. And the issue with Phillip Rivers has never been, can he make the throws? That odd, herky-jerky throwing motion, one of a kind, has always been able to make the throws. It's can he prevent you from going, oh, if you're a Colts fan or a Chargers fan previously. And he had one of those. He's getting it done. And it took
but they're getting it done. They're getting it done right now in this moment, Nick.
Do you trust?
Yes, I believe. Yes.
You trust Phillip Rivers?
Yes, I trust Phillip Rivers
in a big spot. Okay.
I trust Phillip Rivers. I trust the Colts team 100%. They just beat the Green Bay Packers, and they're playing really well right now. So 100% I trust them.
All right, let's move on. I want to play a little take your pick your brain. Vikings-Cowboys game. This was a back-and-forth thriller yesterday afternoon. 2 spectacular touchdown catches from this one. One from CeeDee Lamb, twisting his body as he fell. And this one from Adam Thielen, up, down, and touchdown. Which was the better catch from this game? That one right there from CeeDee Lamb or the one from Adam Thielen? Brandon, I'll start with you. Take your pick.
Adam makes it look so easy, but look, that's routine for a wide receiver. That is a really good catch. It's a difficult catch, but you practice that every single day, and that's I'm talking about Adam. CeeDee Lamb, that's tough. Like to be able to go in the air and then torque your body in the air and find it, track it, and then come down with it. He also almost lost it, and he gripped it with one hand. So I got to go with CeeDee Lamb here. This is a difficult catch. The one-hand catch by Adam Thielen. Nick, that's more routine. That glove, that should be able to stick just like that.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I thought CeeDee's was 8.8 out of 10, Jenna. I thought Thielen's was a 15 out of 10. I have to reevaluate everything. Ooh. I'm so shocked by Brandon's take. I'm so shocked.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one. But man, it's hard. You got a visor on. You got the glare of the lights there, and you're torquing your body in the air.
He plucks it with one hand
that's just
and
a
never
tough
uses
one, man.
the other one.
Cowboys, by the way, went on to win that game.
The visor?
And they needed it. It's a tough division they're in right now. They walk away with smiles, something the Patriots did not. Another ref outing for Cam Newton. Where does that now leave the Kevin Wilds? That's next. First things first. Not great. Oh, Thanksgiving Day coming up. It's going to be a fun one. College hoop season tipping off with a blockbuster on Fox. Number 1 Gonzaga taking on number 6 Kansas. Guys, this could be the biggest game of the year. Thanksgiving Day, 1 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Didn't even have to sell it. I'll be watching it. Can't wait. Time now for a little drawing a blank. Wilds, you diehard Patriots fan. You had me believing the Pats could and would beat the Texans yesterday. Not so much. They started strong, but they couldn't get anything going all afternoon. 27-20 Texans when all was said and done. Patriots now 4-6 and likely needing to win out the rest of the way if they want to see the postseason. Brandon, the Patriots' playoff chances now are blank.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear your answer, Wiles, but I'm going to go with finito. You guys lost to the Texans yesterday. Man, you guys are done. And I hate to sound like a hater right now, but it's been like 20 years. You guys had a phenomenal run. That run is over. Finito.
Yeah, I said irrelevant because the Patriots right now are irrelevant. And it's not about, well, could the Bills lose 3 of their next 4, and the Pats aren't any good. If you lose to the Texans, you stink. Those are the rules. I didn't make them. 2 teams have lost to the Texans this year. The Jags and the Patriots. The Texans' only wins had come against the Jags. So they lost to the Texans. So the Patriots' playoff chances are irrelevant because they're a bad football team, Wilds. Sorry.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Here's how much in denial I am. I think the Patriots are good. And I extend that to like, wow, the Jets are pretty good. The Jets are a good team. And then I watch this game yesterday, I'm like, wow, Texans are a good team. And they're not. But with all that being said,
I get it.
We are still
great.
alive.
Wow.
My answer is ET-esque. Yes, we certainly look dead, and there's dead flowers all around us. But we have winnable games coming up, so I'm not totally dead yet. I still have a red heart beating, and I might pop out of my ET chamber and enter into the playoffs. But I'll be honest with you. It's
Cardinals
Give me the
lost.
You're dead.
It's not
Chargers
like dead. I know,
lost.
Brandon. We see the
Rams
graphic.
lost.
Brandon, we see the graphic.
Dolphins
we all
lost.
see it.
Buffalo
We all
lost.
see it.
All right, let's move on to we all see it. You've got blue hair.
Ooh.
Let's move on to Washington now, taking on the Bengals. The big story here, the loss of Bengals rookie quarterback Joe Burrow. Left the game in the 3rd quarter with a knee injury, likely an ACL. That'll knock him out the rest of the year. Burrow tweeting, I love this. Thanks for all the love. Can't get rid of me that easy. See you next year. It's a shame. So fun to watch him this season. Brandon, Joe Burrow's rookie season was blank.
Oof. Brutal sport, volatile sport. It's bittersweet because if you're an owner, general manager, head coach, you know you need to have that quarterback. You need to have the face of the franchise in that position. And so it's validation when you go out there and you see this guy warming up, you see this guy take the huddle because you know you have your guy for the next 10 to 15 years. So it's a sweet moment for the organization. But now after that brutal hit and this devastating news, this ACL, it's not good. Like you're riding high. Because you're thinking, you know what, if we can just get to offseason, bring our guys together. We have an offseason, we have preseason, we get better, we fix our offensive line, we're going to be right where we need to be. And now you got to deal with this. So it's bittersweet.
Yeah, the injury's obviously terrible, but if it's just the ACL, guys typically recover from that pretty well. I would say his rookie season was promising. I was not as high on Burrow as a lot of people were coming out of LSU. I had said I'd take Tua 1 over him, which was the drastic minority opinion, and Burrow looked really good. I know the win-loss record wasn't there for him this season, but if you watched the Bengals play, he kept them in nearly all of their games. They covered nearly every single week, and I think you're about to see over the final 6 weeks of the year how bereft of talent that roster really is when they have Ryan Finley out there trying to hold it together for him. So I actually think it was promising, even though it ends terribly for him, Wilds.
I agree. Just because he was the #1 pick doesn't mean it's a guarantee that he was going to make it. We've seen plenty of busts, and we still have the jury's still out on Sam Darnold. It wasn't #1, but he's a high pick. So I think that we all know that Joe Burrow is a star. And look, yeah, well, okay. Deshaun had an ACL. Tom Brady had an ACL. I think he's going to come back better than ever, and Bengals have their quarterback of the future.
Yeah, they do. All right, let's move on to Cleveland, where the Browns are off to their best start since 1994. Their win yesterday did come over a struggling Eagles team with a struggling Eagles quarterback, but it's still a win, and they improved to 7-3 thanks in large part to that defense. So, Brandon, the Browns improving to 7-3 is blank.
It's smoke and mirrors. The last 3 of their 4 games, they beat the Eagles, the Texans, and the Bengals. Like, come on. And they had the weather to play into, their hands. This team is built to run the ball. So when you have a hurricane outside and you have to run the ball, that's what you do well, then it protects you. It doesn't expose Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has to be the reason you win games. And that's not, he hasn't answered that question yet.
Why?
So it's smoke and mirrors. Why? Because
Why?
Why does he have to? Because this is the National Football League. You need to play good defense, and you got to have a quarterback that is capable of getting it done. The same reason why you keep talking about Phillip Rivers, smoke and mirrors.
Okay, so the Browns improving to 7-3 is not show-worthy, meaning this show. Because there aren't many hard and fast rules for this show, but one of them in the official First Things First bylaws reads as follows: we will only discuss the Browns after losses. And so I'm shocked it even came up here, because I figured we might go a month without mentioning them. Because when they win games and look good, they don't get discussed, because it doesn't fit the narrative that some folks on this show have carefully manicured.
Win looked good.
And so, you know, I mean, yeah, listen, 7-3. 7-3. I mean, here's the full list of AFC teams with a better record than the Browns. The Steelers and the Chiefs. That's it. That's your list. But yeah, so I'm shocked it made the show, Wilds, because we don't talk about the Browns when they win, which is most of the time.
Okay. I had an answer about the weather, but now I'm going to go back because the guy's playing well. And just for the record, everybody, because Mangini tried to use this on me and the Patriots, like, the weather. Both teams have to play in the weather. Carson Wentz play. Both teams have to play. But Nick, it's 8:08. Half an hour ago, you were yelling that the Colts didn't have a chance because of Phillip Rivers. And Brandon, you bring up a good point. I don't just want to just move on. It's literally the same take that you have for Phillip Rivers is the Browns. It's a good team that runs the ball well and plays great defense. But Phillip Rivers, liability, blah, blah, blah.
You know the difference?
Him and his commercials.
Hey,
so good.
Hold on. Stay here. Stay here. You want to know the difference? Raise your hand if you think the Browns can make the Super Bowl. Anybody? Nobody's arguing that.
No.
I didn't know. Well, then zip it, y'all.
Why do you keep standing on the table for them?
The point was the Colts can't make the Super Bowl. Neither can the Browns.
You have them as a
contender. Saying they stink and Baker stinks. No, I don't. No, I don't. They are not a Super Bowl contender. Zip it. They're not. Nobody thinks they can make the Super Bowl.
I don't even want to move on.
Contenders.
Why do we have to move on? I love that conversation. All right, move on to Tampa now. Tom Brady and the Bucs hosting Jared Goff and the Rams tonight. Brady's Bucs 0-3 in prime time this season, but they're hoping that a week of night practices and maybe pushing his bedtime a little bit later will lead to a better performance tonight. So, Brandon, the player you're most excited to watch in tonight's Rams-Bucs game is blank.
Oh, another quarterback discussion. Let's see what Nick has to say. I'm going to go with Tom Brady. Look, Tom Brady on prime time this year hasn't performed well. Now, I love Tampa Tom. Nick doesn't. Nick is going to find a way to hold this man down. He is the GOAT. But Tampa Tom, we know what happens in the locker room. I still got to hold you accountable, although I'm a retired guy. You have to play better. So I'm interested to watch Tampa Bay and Tom Brady and see how they perform on prime time. They need to act like they're woke and not sleepy Tom. We don't need that sleepy Tom.
I'm not sure how woke Brady is, but I'm going to go with the guy who might go down as the GOAT and currently is still playing like it, Aaron Donald. I am so excited, like almost beside myself excited to watch Aaron Donald tonight. Because you know who's not? The guy who's going to get to see him up close and personal the whole night. Your guy, Tampa Tom. Because there's one thing we know unequivocally about the Tampa Bay Bucs. You get pressure on the quarterback, they lose. It's that simple. If you can't get pressure like Carolina couldn't, they look like the best team in the league. You get pressure on them, all of a sudden, good God, they just lost to Nick Foles. Good God, they just got annihilated by the Saints. Aaron Donald is going to create pressure. So he's the one I'm most excited to watch, Wilds.
Yep, I'm right there with you. That's O-line. Ali Marpet out again. Had a concussion 2 weeks ago. He missed 2 games. They thought he was going to play. He practiced all week, but he's out. So I think this offensive line, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky, Brandon. Plus, I'm very interested in your sort of like goodnight moon take that Tom gets sleepy after 8:30. It's the best take in all sports media right now.
This is a good take.
Among the many quarterbacks, guys, who got a gold star yesterday, as my kids would say, Taysom Hill. Have the Saints found the heir apparent to Drew Brees? That is shocking.
I have a major Taysom Hill announcement.
First things first.
I have a major Taysom Hill announcement.
And NFL tradition continues on Fox as Washington takes on Zeke in the Cowboys Thanksgiving Day, 4 Eastern, only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. All right, with that, we head to New Orleans where Sean Payton was heavily scrutinized for his decision to start Taysom Hill yesterday. Big scrutiny by some big names, some right here on this set. But Taysom Hill was every bit the dual threat the Saints needed him to be in a win over the Atlanta Falcons. Taysom, 18 of 23, 233 yards, ran the ball 10 times for 51 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Saints won 24-9. It's their 7th win in a row. And with that, we welcome in Brian Westbrook. But I want to start with you, Nick. Nick, you were down on this decision. You questioned it. Yeah. So did Taysom Hill's performance prove you wrong in any way?
All right. Couple major announcements relating to Taysom Hill. First of all, I was obviously and unequivocally wrong about my prediction that Jameis Winston would throw more passes than Taysom Hill. Jameis Winston never saw the field. So on Sunday, Sean Payton didn't lie, told the truth. Taysom was their quarterback, and I was wrong about that. That is going to be the only thing I am wrong about Taysom Tebow about when we look back a year from now. Taysom Hill's best play of the day was a 15-yard underthrow. He did his damnedest early in the game to throw a red zone pick, and it got dropped. And the list of guys who we've seen come on and have one start with a very, call it well-manicured, dialed-down playbook against a bad defense, we're like, oh, hey, Kyle Allen, is he any good? Nope. Oh, wait, my goodness gracious. I think Jake Luton might have something. Nope. Drew Lock, he could compete with nope. And all those guys, except for Luton, I think is better than Taysom. So listen, he had some great runs, which makes sense because he's a runner. The idea that this is at all sustainable is laughable. Credit to Sean Payton. The game would have gone no differently with Jameis, except they would have been more effective through the air. So I will triple down on this, Brian. I was wrong on Sunday. I will not be wrong long term about Taysom Hill not being a quarterback.
You know, the one thing about you that I love, Nick, is that you're willing to stick with whatever your point is, no matter what you see. And this is what I saw from Sean Payton and Taysom Hill yesterday. You know, I think it kind of justifies with the reason why you go with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, number one, he played well, of course. He was accurate, 78% completions, did a good job there. He was decisive in the pocket. He didn't make a lot of bad decisions. He only didn't have any interceptions. He had a couple close calls there, but no interceptions thrown. The other thing that he proved, that he can throw from the pocket. 13 passes in the first half and only 2 runs. He didn't take off and just run at every opportunity that he had, especially in the first half there. But Nick, I think to your point, you're absolutely right. The NFL is a week-to-week league, and now that teams have film on Taysom Hill, he's going to have to duplicate this every single week. And the question is really, the jury is still out if he can do that from week to week. Here's a good thing for Taysom Hill and Sean Payton. They just played the Falcons. They play the Broncos. They play the Falcons again. Then they play the Eagles. Those 3 teams combined have 10 wins on the season. So Taysom Hill and Sean Payton have an opportunity to get things together, to kind of crawl before they have to walk. And maybe by that point, Drew Brees will be back and healthy and ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, for me, in retrospect, you know, he made the right decision. But I was one of many that said I would be shocked if Winston got this, if he didn't get the start. Taysom Hill went out there and he played phenomenal. He had one of the most efficient, effective starts of any quarterback in their start. So when you look at it, it makes sense. You know, when they made the announcement Friday, I was like, well, it kind of makes sense because if I'm a defensive coordinator, I don't know how to prepare. And every single week, all you're looking for is an edge. Most of these games are decided by 3 and 4 points. So those little details matter. To be this far into the season and a defensive coordinator, the Atlanta Falcons not getting a beat on what to expect from the Saints offense, that's a big deal. So I thought it was a genius move by Sean Payton. Obviously, he trusts He trusts Taysom. Taysom went out there and he did a great job. So moving forward, I do think he can still be effective. I still think he can be efficient because it comes down to Sean Payton putting him in a position to win. He has everything he needs, Wild, to lead this team until Drew Brees is healthy and he's back in the huddle.
Okay, well, if the Seahawks pass defense didn't exist, the Falcons would be the absolute worst in the league. The Seahawks do exist, so no one talks about how horrible the Falcons pass offense is. So I think that has to be weighed. The other thing is, like, I've got a red jacket. I got a red velvet jacket. I wear it once a year. I wear it at a Christmas party. It doesn't work all the time. It works in the holiday season only, and that's the way I view Taysom Hill. It will work against the Falcons. I don't think it's going to work. But I have to be honest. Michael Thomas had a big day. He went 9 for 12, 104 yards. Yeah. So the idea that Taysom Hill can't air it out, I mean, I don't know how much criticism we can give Taysom Hill's game if Michael Thomas is happy.
Well, listen, we'll see how happy Michael Thomas remains. The story of this game was the Saints' defensive line. They had 8 sacks. Cam Jordan, if you guys remember, came on this show and said his favorite team to play is the Falcons because he sacks Matt Ryan more than any player in the league. He came into the game with 2.5 sacks, left with 5.5 sacks because he was just leading the charge, annihilating Matt Ryan. But folks think I don't like Taysom. And by the way, shout out to Roddy White because he ended up taking the smoke off me. Sean Payton retweets his tweet instead of mine, so I appreciate Roddy White for putting that out there. I'm happy for Taysom. Jenna, just like I was happy, you remember a few years ago in San Francisco when the whole city pretended that little kid was Batman and it was Batman for a day and everyone played along with it? I'm happy Taysom got this moment. The whole NFL world pretended for a day he's a starting quarterback. And he gets that moment no matter what happens. But we know Taysom Tebow is not a starting quarterback in this league and we'll continue to see that.
All right, so then, Brandon, let me ask you a question. I think you made a fantastic point that Sean Payton got some sort of edge, albeit a small one, by throwing a non-Jameis Winston quarterback out there that the Falcons had to obviously deal with and game plan for, and they didn't have much film on him. But now you look at Sean Payton's Drew Brees-less team. They're 6-0 over the last 2 years when Drew Brees isn't in there. What does that say about a guy like Sean Payton and this Saints team?
Yeah, that they have really good backups. You know, I think the league shifted around 7-8 years ago when a lot of our starting quarterbacks had their teams in position to go into the playoffs and got hurt, going back to Jay Cutler and the Bears and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And then nobody had a capable backup quarterback on the bench. So teams started really investing in the backup quarterback position. So when you look at last year, Teddy coming in and holding his team together and going 5-0 while Drew Brees was down. And now Taysom Hill, and you have Jameis Winston, who is capable of going in there and getting it done with the right coaching and the right game plan. It says a lot to this team and their depth. But Sean Payton, you know, you got to think about it, man. Like this guy does a great job of preparing his team week in and week out. Behind Coach Belichick, there's no one else besides him. Like, he does a great job. I keep saying it over and over again because I was there. Like, this guy is in the lab every night to midnight, drawing up plays, watching film. If you're a defensive coordinator and you coached in the MAC back in the 80s, he's probably watching that film just to see who you are and trying to get a beat on any given situation, Jenna. So, you know, I think this says a lot to this organization, their depth, and also Coach Payton preparing his team week in and week out.
I 1,000% agree with you on that, Brandon. And the fact that the Saints, Drew Brees never missed time ever until last season, right? So he got hurt when he was with the Chargers, came to the Saints, and he was on that list along with Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, of the quarterbacks that you essentially knew were going to play 16 games every year. And for him to miss 6 games in the last 15 months, after not missing 6 games, even close to that, in total of his time with the Saints, and for them to be 6-0, it speaks to the talent of Kamara and Thomas, the underrated nature of that defense, and Sean Payton's ability, at least during the regular season, to scheme a game plan together that is going to put the opposing team in a really tough position.
And And the talent of Taysom Hill. Oh, I thought you were going to say one more. Anyway, Saints pick up the win behind Taysom. Chiefs with the win behind Patrick Mahomes. The revenge game against the Raiders lost some flair but gained some drama. We'll explain next. First things first.
Gonzaga, Kansas, Thanksgiving Day right here on Fox might end up being the best college basketball game of the year. 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific, right here on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Titans-Ravens. People thought this was going to be a great game. Ended up being a pretty damn good game. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse in these reads, but I'm trying it out. Lamar Jackson. Not that great. Big lead early, couldn't hold on. Bad pass there. Derrick Henry, not that good early, actually fantastic late. Here's Lamar Jackson after the game about all of a sudden the spiraling Ravens.
We just had 2 losses in a row. Games we should have won. We had little hiccups in the game, but we still got to keep fighting through it. That team, it looked like that team wanted it more than us. They was playing physical. When we went up, I feel like, we just took our foot off the gas, but we just got to keep it going. Finish teams.
Nick, thank you. I'm good. I feel good. Now I can ask you, now that you set the whole thing up for me. Yeah, I appreciate it. I got to ask about your faith now in Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, because for the last couple of weeks it has been going downhill, at least in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Ravens got to figure out who they want to be on offense and who they can be. Now, we talk about how important offensive line play is, and then we ignore it when an all-pro goes out for the year. The loss of Ronnie Stanley has clearly affected them and their offense, and they were without their 2 best defensive tackles yesterday, and you saw that particularly late in the game with Derrick Henry running all over him in the fourth quarter and overtime. But Brandon, Lamar last year was a dynamic, terrifying weapon. And this year he hasn't been. Last year, Lamar Jackson on the season had 9 games with at least 210 passing yards. This year it's at 2. Last year on the season, he had 12 games with at least 60 rushing yards. This year it's at 3. Last year on the season, he had 9 games with at least 3 touchdowns. This year he's done it twice. So I'm not putting it all on Lamar. I think there's other structural reasons the Ravens are struggling, but they are not the same offense. And he is clearly, up to this point of the season, nowhere close to the same quarterback that was a unanimous league MVP. And I don't know how they fix it, Brandon.
So, Nick, remember we had this discussion, week 3, week 4? Lamar didn't play well, and we were talking about, can this guy throw? Is he capable of being a starting quarterback in the National Football League? Everybody's talking about Lamar, and the first person that I stood on the table and talked about was Greg Roman. I said this is a Greg Roman issue because there's no chemistry, there's no continuity. It's almost like their offense is disjointed. You cannot be this pistol offense, misdirection offense, quarterback runs, and then in the passing game, what you saw yesterday, go and spread and drop back. It makes no sense. Nick, everything that you just said reminds me a lot of Cap in San Francisco. Every year, his passer rating just got lower and lower and lower and lower. Why is that? Is it Cap?
Oh, wow.
Or was it the league figuring out the running quarterback style that Greg Roman throws at you, and it takes off so fast? But then once you get hip to it, then it's like, we know how to stop this. And I think that's I know that's exactly what's happening in Baltimore. Everybody in the National Football League knows how to stop it. So what made them explosive in the passing game last year, the play action, no longer exists because teams know how to stop the run. So what they need to do, I said this Friday, they need to find someone, a passing game coordinator or a new offensive coordinator can come in and help develop Lamar Jackson in this offense. And I wouldn't even say develop Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, he can play ball. So you need an offense that fit. Coming into the NFL, a lot of question marks around Lamar, rightfully so. He answered that. He's proved to you that he can be a quarterback. High football IQ, very savvy, poise in the pocket, poise on the sideline, leadership skills out of this world. So now what you need to do to take the team to a whole nother level is find a passing game that makes sense, that mimics the running game. Wilds, that is the answer. We can talk about Lamar all we want, but until Greg Roman looks himself in the mirror and change what he's doing on first down and in the passing game and in 2-minute situations, then this team will never contend.
Well, so the Greg Roman stuff I find super interesting. And obviously, Lamar has answered all the questions about, is he a quarterback? Is he a starting quarterback? Those now look as laughable as they did when people were floating them during the draft. But there are now new questions, which is, are we going to look back on year 2 of his career as the aberration? Or are we going to look back on this 10-game stretch of struggling as the aberration? And Wilds, that is yet to be seen. That is what we have to figure out over the next 6 weeks of football and into the playoffs. Now, they play the Steelers on Thanksgiving. Then they have an incredibly soft schedule the final 5 weeks of the year. So I'm not worried they're not going to make the playoffs. But the standard for the Ravens is not make the playoffs. They set their own standard too high with what they did last year. And honestly, what they've done with that franchise the last 20 years, Wilds.
Yeah, they still feel like a scary team if they get into the playoffs. But it feels like they can get bullied a little bit. Lamar said they felt like the Titans wanted it more. And Brandon, to me, my favorite part of the game was this pregame scrum, which felt like something out of like college football, line up on the Ravens logo. And here comes Jim Harbaugh getting into it. After the game, they said there's no big deal. There was a handshake, but it was kind of an awkward moment. Brandon, do you think that Vrabel sort of set the tone right away with this?
This is genius coaching in my eyes. Now look, I'm not in that locker room. I wasn't in those meetings. I don't know I'm not in Coach Vrabel's head. So I don't know the why behind it. But all I know is the Titans was a struggling team. The same way we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens today, and we'll be talking about them all week until they handle their business against the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they handle their business against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this is a team that's been struggling. And an easy way to get your team out of the ditch is throw them in a fight. So before the game, this could be a tactic. This could have been a genius move by Vrabel saying, you know what, I want you guys to break it down on their logo on the 50-yard line before the game even starts. So I think this is more Vrabel trying to get his team going and using anything he can. And it was less about the Ravens and their logo, because obviously there's a lot of respect between the two. And I think that's why Coach Harbaugh walked out there, because you don't see this in the National Football League. We talked about Juju celebrating on the star a couple weeks ago. We know as players, one of the most disrespectful things you can do is do anything on their logo. So I think this was genius by Harbaugh to go get the win. And obviously, Vrabel and Harbaugh, he took offense to it, rightfully so.
I also think, Wilds, I'm glad you pointed it out, I also think it's indicative that the league's not scared of Baltimore the way they were last year. Nobody's doing this when they were 14-2, big truss, whooping everybody. We mentioned the logo. When T.O. did it to the Cowboys, guess what that Cowboys team didn't have? Emmett, Troy, Irvin, Prime. It wasn't a very good team. This year, when Juju tried to do it to the Cowboys stink. Now, the Ravens obviously don't stink. I'm not arguing that. But I do think there was an intimidation level and a toughness level that was associated with Baltimore last year, where they really did intimidate people. Now, the Titans weren't intimidated in the playoff game. Go ahead, Brandon.
But Nick, you said it earlier. It's easy to play the big bad wolf and the big bully when you're missing two of your offensive linemen that got you to where you were last year, and then obviously your two defensive linemen that sets the tempo for toughness on your team. Their two defensive linemen, star defensive linemen, weren't in this game, so it's easy to do that. Then if these teams see each other again, and I'm not sure if they will because it's whoever gets into the playoffs at this point. But this won't happen again. They'll be healthier, and it'll be a really good football game.
All right, with that, we take a turn.
First round playoff matchup. I think we
Talk
see
some
it.
Eagles. Is it time for Philly to sit Carson Wentz down after another brutal performance yesterday? That's next. First things first.
Feels like the 3-6 playoff game this year.
They
played each other.
It was another week and another complete dud for Carson Wentz. This time against a Cleveland defense. Missing Myles Garrett didn't matter. Wentz struggling again with his decision-making, looking nothing like the MVP candidate quarterback that he once was. Not that long ago. Philly's still hanging on for dear life. First place in the NFC East. Here's Doug Peterson after the game.
Doug, did you at any point in this game consider pulling Carson for Jalen? And is there a point at which you would consider that?
You know, with the way the game was going and the elements, and we were just, really a score from putting ourselves back into this football game, I did not consider that.
Hey, Doug, is Carson Wentz going to start next week?
Yes.
No question about it? Okay.
Yeah, no questions about it. He's our starter.
I don't know. There's so many ways to interpret that. Looking how long this is going to last, what time it is, timing the press conference. I don't know. A little bit of a pregnant pause before the yes. So many things going on here. Brian, you think your Eagles should consider benching Carson Wentz for Hurts? We seem to be going in one direction here.
Well, here's a question. Are you going to bring Carson Wentz back? He signed a long-term contract in 2019, almost a little over a year ago. And if you're going to plan on bringing him back, you can't bench him. You just can't. You got to allow him to try to figure things out. You got to allow him to try to play through it. But if you're telling me next year that Carson Wentz is going to be out of there, you have a way to get out of that contract, which I think is going to be almost impossible to do, and that Jalen Hurts is going to be your guy, then of course you take him out, because at this point, the only reason that you don't bench Carson Wentz is a contract, and then you don't necessarily know there's an unknown with the rookie quarterback. So the other part is this. It can't get any worse. It can't get any worse than what Carson Wentz is doing. The only thing that Jalen Hurts can do, run around a little bit and throw interceptions, and if he does that, that's almost the same thing that Carson Wentz is doing at this point. So, you're hamstrung by you're hamstrung by the contract. That's the biggest issue right there in Philadelphia.
Yeah, you're right, B. I mean, if you're moving on from this guy, then you can consider it. But should you really do it? Because now you're going to mess up your leverage going into the offseason, the trade value for Carson Wentz, because now every team is going to know that you want to move on. But then you got to also ask yourself this question. Jalen Hurts, is this really what we want to put this kid into? Like, can this kid really thrive in this situation? No offensive line, no wide receivers. Alshon Jeffrey just got back, and he looks like he's still getting into the rhythm of the game and his feet underneath him. So that's the first question I'm asking. Am I setting up this kid for success? And I would absolutely not put him in this type of situation. No offensive line. Guys are banged up every single week, in and out of the lineup, and you have nobody to catch the ball for you right now. So if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I just ride this out. And I also go into the offseason with the open mind, but really leaning towards bringing Carson Wentz back, because he is a premier quarterback in this league. He needs to clean up his feet work. He also needs to clean up his decision making, but those are things that can be corrected in a healthy offseason, going into the preseason with the right coaching and the right team around him.
So, Brian, I've got two facts and one theory to run by you. Fact number one, statistically speaking, Carson Wentz has been the worst quarterback in the NFL this year. There's no way around it. 14 picks, 10 fumbles, 4 lost, a total disaster. Fact number two, I dug into his contract before the show. It is impossible to move him this offseason. Next year, his cap hit is $35 million. You know what it is if they cut him? $60 million of dead money. it's almost impossible to move on from him the following year. In 2022, it's $25 million of dead money. They kept his cap charge super low early, and he has to be the guy next year, which is why they can't even consider benching him, because he's going to be on the roster with a $35 million cap hit next year. The theory is this. A lot of people, when they think of Carson Wentz, they think of Nick Foles. They think of the playoff run with the Eagles. What about a different Nick Foles year with the Eagles? You remember 2014, Nick Foles played 13 games, had 27 touchdowns, 2 picks, and it is just the total aberration of his entire career. Those magical 13 games. What if the same is true with Wentz? 2018, 13 games, was going to be league MVP. Oh, my God. And now you look at him. Are we going to look back on the career and say, just like Nick Foles, the guy put it all together for 3.5 months of football, but that is the only stretch of his entire career that looks anything like that? For Foles, we now know that's the case. If you're an Eagles fan, and I know you are, you have to at least be a little concerned that that is going to be the case with Wentz.
You know, Nick, I'm not talking about a little concern. I'm very concerned as an Eagles fan. Is Carson Wentz able to rebound from such a terrible season? Here's the question, and Brandon brought it up. Bringing him back in the offseason, making him better, coach him up a little bit differently. The question is, who is going to be that guy that's going to hold him accountable? Who's going to be the guy that's going to coach him up a little bit differently? Because at this point, we've seen Carson Wentz regress worse and worse and worse as the season has gone on. Who is that guy that's going to step up and now say, you know what, Carson, now it's the offseason. We're going to make you get better. We haven't seen that guy show up in Philadelphia, and that's why Carson Wentz continues to get worse.
Brian Westbrook, as always, thank you so much. I got a question for the panel. Is Patrick Mahomes now all alone at the top of the MVP race after last night's game-winning drive? Talk about it next. First things first. And NFL tradition continues on Fox as Washington takes on Zeke and the Cowboys. It is Thanksgiving Day, 4 Eastern, only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Best day of the year, by far. Time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. We head to Vegas, where the Chiefs were looking for revenge for their only blemish on the season, and they needed just about every minute against the Raiders to pull it off. Patrick Mahomes finding Travis Kelce for the go-ahead touchdown with 28 seconds to go. Mahomes finished with 348 yards, 2 TDs. Here's head coach Andy Reid on his star quarterback.
Well, listen, I'd take him over everybody, and I'm lucky to have him. So as we are as a football team, as we are as a city, and I know we're all proud of him and the way he goes about his business. So, and when you're behind, he can make things happen, and he's got great vision. He's got guys that believe in him, around him, and work like crazy to get themselves open. And again, this is against a good football team. So our guys, like I said, I mean, I'm proud of the way they handled this. This thing could have easily gone the other way, and it didn't. And it's because they bear down.
LeBron. Coach loves Patrick Mahomes. So does LeBron. Chimed in with this. Was there any doubt on that drive? No, there was not. Patrick Mahomes, insano. But Nick, I gotta ask. You gotta be a little bit surprised that it took a game-winning drive to beat the Raiders.
My least favorite.
You told me I could go to bed after the first quarter. Yeah, by 25, I think.
Listen,
I was supposed to go to bed after the first quarter. What happened?
I don't know why Wilds is doing this. I was shocked. You're right. I had the Chiefs blowing the Raiders out. Now, I wasn't as shocked as I'm sure Brandon was, because Brandon had the Raiders winning. But I was shocked. I was shocked that the Chiefs allowed this to be a game, and the defense needs to be better. But nobody was shocked by the final 2 minutes. Because what we know about Patrick Mahomes is if the Chiefs have the ball and are behind with less than 2 minutes left, they're actually ahead. First game of his career, Week 17 against Denver. 2-minute drill. Go win us the game, Patrick. Field goal at the gun. First major marquee moment of his career, Monday Night Football against Denver. Down, 2-minute drill. Left-handed pass. Remember that one? They end up winning the football game. 2 months later, 4th and forever against the Ravens, less than a minute left at Arrowhead, across his body to Tyreek Hill, end up winning the game. AFC Championship game, down with 2.5 minutes, touchdown drive, down with 30 seconds, gets him in field goal range, kicks the field goal, they don't win the coin toss. Last year, there weren't many moments like that, except for the Super Bowl, and then last night. So what you gonna do? Listen, one time he hasn't come through. The nationally televised game against the Rams 2 years ago when all he did was score 51 points but threw an interception at the end. Brandon, you got to try to run out the clock on these guys, because if you let him have the last shot, you're going to go home losers.
Yeah, and that's why they're really good, Nick, and that's why he gets paid almost $500 million. Like, Patrick Mahomes is the best in the business right now, no doubt about it. Andy Reid, best in the business right now, no doubt about it. They even have Spags, who's doing a hell of a job on the defensive side. You know, but why are we surprised that this game came down to this situation? Why? Because the Oakland Raiders are really good. We shouldn't be surprised. Like, what else do they have to do to show you that they're trending in the right direction? And I'm not speaking to you, Nick. I'm speaking to everybody in football. Nobody's really talking about the Oakland Raiders the way they should be. Like, this is a really good team. They are a contender. Like, what they did is, in leading into their first matchup against the Chiefs, they studied the Patriots. Go back to 2019, week 14. Bill Belichick, he had the perfect formula. He put it out there. The Raiders was the first one to do it on defense. They played a lot of zone. They did a great job up front, collapsing the pocket, making Patrick Mahomes get outside and using their linebackers in secondary to contain him, making him go 10, 11, 12 plays in a row. They did that. Coach Gruden is getting better as a play caller. Last night, if you're an offensive-minded person, or if you like offense, then you were in love with what the Oakland Raiders was doing. But the Chiefs, man, everybody should be on notice right now even more. This team is better today than they were this time last year, because they can get it done in any situation, any way they want to, whether running the game, running the ball, throwing the ball, playing good defense, special teams. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. This is a really good team because they know how to evolve now. It's not just Patrick Mahomes drop back, throw it 40, 45 times a game for 350 yards. They can beat you in any way.
Right.
Whatever you give them, they're going to take it. And this team is scary.
Okay. All right, can we just take a breath? Just because Patrick Mahomes is great doesn't mean that the Raiders didn't play poorly at the end of the game. Like, Usain Bolt is a great runner, but if I was in a race against Usain Bolt and I just fell on my face, I can't get up and be like, the great Usain Bolt wins again. Like, no, Wilds, you fell on your face. They had a minute 43. Patrick Mahomes went down the field 7 plays. In a minute 15 were 75 yards. And the idea that the one that he threw out of bounds, the Raiders defensive coordinator is like, boom, get that out of here. To like try to set the tone. Well, the tone was, I'm going to waltz on down the field to the winning touchdown with Travis Kelce wide open and Patrick Mahomes wide open. And Nick, I know you're going to be like, wow, they moved the ball the whole game. Okay, but the final drive took a minute 15. The time of possession was 32 minutes. They didn't score 210 points. They had a chance to slow them down. True. I'm not saying you have to stop them. And I'm saying just slow them down a little bit.
And they couldn't. It's true.
No,
but just real quick, Jenna, before we move on, I have a major announcement for the show. Kevin Wilds, do you remember a few weeks ago when I did this thing and I said that's Patrick Mahomes sneaking in the back door of the MVP discussion? Do you remember that? Hold on. Yeah, you were mime. You're like, whoa. Did you hear that? What? Did you hear that? No. That's him slamming the door shut.
He was too busy
doing the
doing the
conversation is over.
He didn't hear it.
He just won it.
He was
the MVP
okay
conversation is over. It's over. Patrick Mahomes, your league MVP. Lock it in.
A lot of football left,
I heard
Nick.
it. I thought it was good.
Okay.
Let's head to New Orleans now. Sean Payton heavily scrutinized for his decision to start Taysom Hill yesterday. Big scrutiny by some big names. Some of those big names right here on this set. But Taysom Hill, every bit the dual threat the Saints needed him to be in a win over the Falcons. Went 18 of 23, 233 yards, very respectable. Ran 10 times, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns, very respectable. Saints got the win, 24-9, your final, their 7th win in a row. Nick, did Taysom's performance prove that Sean Payton, as surprised as I think we all were on Friday when he decided to make the call, made the right call to start Taysom over Jameis?
No.
Hold on, Nick.
Absolutely not.
Nick. 1 second.
Yeah.
1 second, Nick. 1 second. Can you please give America the background on your Taysom Hill dislike? And I almost want to say hatred almost at the quarterback position.
No
Can you
hatred.
please? This is not just a simple topic.
Brandon, I love you, but I wouldn't want you to be unicycling down the street. It doesn't fit your skill set. Doesn't mean I hate you if I say you can't do it. Taysom Hill's not a quarterback, and we're going to end up seeing that over the next few weeks. The Saints D-line was unbelievable. You played the second worst pass defense in football, and your best pass of the game is a 15-yard underthrow. I'm happy for him. And I was wrong that he wouldn't start. He did start. I was wrong about that. I am not wrong that Taysom Tebow's not a starting quarterback in this league. And I'm excited that he's going to get starts because that will end up proving me correct eventually. I promise. So, no, I apologize for nothing. I tripled that.
Goodness. Listen. I was shocked when the news broke Friday that Winston wasn't getting the start. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, this makes sense. Because of everything that you're saying, the reason why you're holding back from giving him love is the reason why he was so successful. There's no film on this guy taking this many snaps at quarterback.
Well,
so what did the Atlanta Falcons supposed to do? That's why they were able to go in there and be so effective and efficient. And I do believe this will extend until the rest of the season until Drew Brees get back.
All right, we're almost done here. Rams and Bucks tonight, Monday Night Football. Brady and Tampa trying to shake their primetime demons. Who wins tonight, Rams or Bucks? Brandon, take your pick.
Bucks by 10. Simple one here. Tom Brady won't be sleepy tonight. They've been working on his sleep cycle.
That's first of all, the best take in all sports media is Brandon's, that Tom Brady goes to bed too early and his performance is affected by it. It's the best take. I'm going to go Bucks by 3.
Step in the right direction for Tom Brady and the Bucks on national TV. He remembers all the downs and they don't get blown out, but they lose. Rams by 4.